Okay. Okay, very good. All right, I'm not seeing it here, but if you're seeing it, that's... Oh, it's there. It's there. Yep. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jared. We're gonna try and behave ourselves with the vast throng. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, bye. Hot mic moment right there.
We ready? We'd like to welcome everybody this morning, this Tuesday, the 19th day of March, 2024, and I would like to start off with a motion to appoint Commissioner Wood as the Chair Pro Tem.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, well, we will move to item number 1. It's the canvass of the March 5th, 2024 presidential primary election. We're going to turn the time over to John Whitaker to tell us all about it.
Okay, so as we do after every election, this is the canvass. And I, as the county clerk and the election officer for the county, am presenting the canvass, our canvass of the will of the people. So this election was interesting because it was just the Democratic presidential primary. It's like I told our poll workers that mostly what they would be doing would be directing people to their caucus meetings. And that was the case. I think we had like 43 or 46 votes in person. So the process, as it always is, we did our logic and accuracy test, which was accurate and logical. Everything worked. Election day went smoothly. The ballots went out and came back smoothly. The total turnout was about 35%. They've kind of changed the rules, and Commissioner Wood came for it's no longer post-election audit, but mid-election audit. So it happens after Election Day, but before the canvass day. So today's the canvass day, so it's got to happen somewhere in that canvass period. And so we advertised for, and Commissioner Wood came and helped with the election audit. And so we audited a couple of batches. And what do you remember about that, Commissioner Wood? Put you on the spot.
Well, there was a new process where there was a little number put on that, and it made it much easier to connect the ballots to the record.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to talk about that. But
yeah.
So what we have on our big tabulation machine is a little like a barcode printer, but it prints a unique number on every ballot. So one of the things that we did years ago when the state decided to go by mail is we keep every single ballot. We have a paper ballot for every single vote cast, and we keep those for the requisite 22 months. But with this new addition, the machine was able to spray a number on, and that is part of the cast vote record. And so we can, looking in the cast vote record, pull that number up and see that individual ballot and the number on it, and so that the number matches the number in the system.
The other thing that I thought that was very interesting is that it shows the exact ballot, and so if you make kind of a round or an oblong dot in the circle, it shows that. You can see that on the ballot and on the record.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so you can tell it's the same ballot because any weirdness in the oval marking.
Or if they wrote something.
Yeah,
some
if
of
they had
them
a
wrote
comment,
something different.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And did we find any errors on the audit?
No. Perfect.
Yep. And so
The perfect audit.
we did, so the audit reflected that the cast vote record, the computerized cast vote record, matched the physical ballots that we had in our hands. Mm-hmm. And so a few minutes before the audit, the Lieutenant Governor's office tells us which batches to poll. We segregate our ballots into batches of 50, and then we take each of those 50 ballots, each of those batches that they tell us, physically we go grab them, and then we sit down at the
Check
computer.
those, every one of them.
We go through every one of those, 100% of those on those batches that they tell us. So that went well. Our numbers matched. We had one little bit of a concern for a minute. There was a gentleman that came in and signed in to vote, but then when he realized it was a Democratic ballot, he opted to not vote. And so we try to reconcile perfectly. What the state tells us is we have to be like nearly close. There's, a lot of times, especially big counties, will have, stuff happens between when a person checks in or whatever. And so what we knew about this individual, and so we actually pulled his vote credit back because he decided to not vote. And so anyway, we got to this morning. We had 23 additional ballots to check that had come in since our last reporting, which was March 6th. Gave a total of 715 ballots cast, or 35.71% turnout for the Democrats' presidential primary election. The winner with 88% was 620 votes was Joe Biden, and then way far behind everyone else. And one of the interesting things about this particular election was that there were 715 ballots cast, but only 704 votes cast. So there were 11 ballots of those 700 that, and my understanding is this was in protest with the handling of the Israeli thing, that folks voted but purposely left their ballot blank in protest of that. So it was interesting to kind of see that statistic jump out for that. So that was our canvas. Or this is the canvas. That's my report. Do you have any questions for me on any of it?
Nope.
Okay.
That's pretty straight up.
I feel comfortable recommending to you as the election officer and you as the Board of Canvassers that this election was free and fair, that everyone could vote that wanted to, and that these results represent the will of the people.
John, in our motion, do we need to note that it's the Democratic presidential primary in that motion?
You can, if you just read that, the canvas of the president.
That's good.
Because sometimes it's both and sometimes it's not. It
Right.
depends kind of on what the Republican Party opts to do.
And this is the only, that's all that we did on this
That's the
one.
only
And
race
it's a
is that
special,
one.
yeah,
Mhm.
special election. Mhm.
Yeah. And it is kind of unfortunate. I have to pay every bit as much money to the folks that set stuff up for, like their minimal fee is still $12,000,
So we could have done both, and it would have been the same price for the
For
Republican
parts
and,
of it, yeah. The programming's a little bit more, having more ballot faces is a little bit more, because then we would have separate ballot style. We'd have a whole other set of ballot styles, but like the base fee is still $12,500 from our printer.
What's your thoughts on how they did it? I know there were some complaints about the voting for the Republican presidential candidate at caucus meetings, says there was only like a 10% turnout. I mean, do you see them doing that again? Do you?
Let me preface this by saying that I'm kind of a social bug, so I really like going to caucus night.
Oh, I do too.
And so
I voted.
So I like.
Yeah, I did too.
I like it. We had some of our folks that were able to vote absentee because we were busy running the election at that time. There's a couple of thoughts. I really do. I like that. I like the folks in my neighborhood. I know that sometimes they can be contentious. I think as far as an election goes, I had one gentleman that I was talking to, and he says, well, what about all the controls that you have? And I says, well, they won't have those at the caucus night. But it's a little bit more informal there, too. So
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried about, I'm not too worried about fraud per se. You'd have to have a concerted effort at a precinct level to do that. I think one of the things that vote by mail has shown is turnout is higher. I mean, we had certainly an interested electorate amongst the Republicans and had, would you say, 11% turnout at caucus night? And then this one with an arguably less energized Democratic electorate had a 35% turnout. And I think some of it is that convenience of the vote by mail. And so to answer your question, I don't know. I think it'll come down to the party leadership at the Republican level. I'm curious to see what is said at the state convention here in a few weeks. What is your take on it?
It was kind of a cluster as far as checking people in and all that. They said
Oh.
it was a mess.
So I didn't want to talk about that. Go
They
ahead.
need to beef up their
Yeah.
website because it seemed to crash.
That's what I heard. And it's a challenge. I mean, we deal with that, 365
Lot of
days
people,
a year.
yeah.
But when it comes to election day, we actually decentralize by having our poll pads at each place, and then they just send a packet of information. Whereas if you've got a live database and everybody's trying to access it all at once, it puts a lot of pressure on
That's
it
what
just from a
happened.
systemic.
Isn't that what
design.
happened?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, I
Caucus,
was busy
yeah.
doing my thing, but yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a problem.
We visited with Mari Eddy. I visited with Mari Eddy several times in the run-up, and I suggested that she give more time and maybe talk about people coming at 6. I said, I'm worried that with a big turnout, you'll be at 10 o'clock before you can start your meetings, and that really wasn't the case here. I think some of the bigger places in up north was a challenge. I will say, there's a movement among county clerks to make precincts larger. Remember when we redid the precincts after the census, and generally what we've tried to do is keep precincts at 1,250 registered voters or less. And with larger precincts, it makes kind of the system for bigger counties easier to manage. But I kind of resisted that because of caucus night and because of our local parties. And so I don't know if some of those larger precincts maybe contributed to the challenges that they had. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, had they kept our caucus sizes the same, we would have never fit in those rooms they put us in. Because they put us in a classroom at the Cedar High School that was barely fit what we had. If we would have had our normal
bigger.
numbers, no way would we fit. I
Yeah.
don't know if they factored that in, but we would have been in trouble.
Which
We
are
were-
Yeah.
one of ours was the smaller ones, and we fit just fine in our room. Yeah.
We were just standing room only, and had we had, because our caucus was cut in half, basically, so if we had had the total number, we'd have never fit in that little classroom.
Interesting. And see, before we rebalanced the precincts and we added a bunch more precincts in Iron County, we had
Yeah, there was a lot in some of them.
like Cedar 16, Cedar 24, Cedar 25 were huge, and they were too big, as a matter of fact, like by law. And when it comes to caucus night, yeah, that's a challenge, and especially when there's an interest, beyond the normal caucus stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it again.
I liked it where they had it all together at the two high schools, where if people didn't know their caucus, number, their precinct, they could just walk across the hall or whatever.
Yeah.
That was really nice, and it was kind of fun seeing everybody, all
Right.
together for a minute. And
And we like I
that.
told my poll workers that really that's what you're going to spend all day doing is helping people get to their caucus meeting, and yeah, it was Canyon View High School, Canyon View Middle School, Cedar High School, and just a few other places.
yeah,
And so
was
being able to
effective,
consolidate
I
helped.
think,
Yeah.
that
That's
way.
kind of the logic that the larger counties have used with vote centers is they do fewer vote centers but bigger ones. Like Washington County will do that. I don't know if you remember last fall at UAC, they were actually running an election while we were there,
Oh,
but they took over half the building, and it was a big old event, whereas we still do smaller ones. We're considering going to a bigger one.
So, John, because that was held differently in a different format at the precinct level, then we don't canvass that because we didn't.
It's not
we
our
didn't
election.
do the election.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't canvass that.
Yeah, this is the election that we did, which was the Democratic primary.
That's
But
the only time we canvass one is if we do it.
yeah,
You do it.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, next year when it's municipal stuff, barring countywide races like we had last year, we had those bond elections and things. We wouldn't canvass at all because Cedar City's municipal or Parowan's municipal races are theirs to canvass.
Right.
The year that we had the ballot snafu, I actually went and presented to each of the city canvases to kind of explain things. But normally, we're doing the election for them. They're kind of hiring us to do it. So, otherwise, yeah, we only canvass when it's our election. That's a long way around.
yeah.
Very good. All right, you ready?
Yeah, very good.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to canvass, to approve the canvass of the March 5th, 2024 presidential primary election, and just note that this is for the Democratic Party only.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Vote to adjourn, huh?
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. I will use the typewriter to fix that, so it looks official, so if you can just sign by your name.
Oh, just here?
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and make the changes. But I thought about changing it beforehand, and I thought I'd rather show that we had it prepared and then
Yeah.
we corrected it, but not just my chicken scratch, but with a typewriter. Thank you, thank you. Almost as fast as Alma.
It's either faster, fastest.
We always joke he was the fastest side in the West.
What did he just go? Brrrt?
He had it really fast. All right. Guys,
Hey, yep.
let me turn this screen off real quick.
Oh, yeah.